Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lily Grace Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have Emma Brunet on today, and I'm so excited because she owns the Yoga Parlor in Hampton, and I have followed her for the past few months, actually, and I'm just so excited to get into her life and into going with her gut because that is a big part of our lives, I feel like. And sometimes it's hard to read what we're feeling, but let's get into it. So, can you first start off with one thing that defines your lifestyle?
I think the biggest thing that defines my lifestyle is just the freedom to kind of live my day-to-day life how I want to live it. I think after college, I realized that I might not be doing what I love to do while I was in school. So I kind of just had to follow my gut and be like, you know what, I'm going to give the yoga a shot and see where it takes me. And it's led me to this point today. So I think just the freedom to explore, my passion and the freedom to live the day-to-day life that I live currently is pretty awesome.
That is so cool. And can you give us your story about where you went to school and what you went to school for?
Yes. So I went to UNH. I started out as an environmental science major and then I switched to environmental conservation. I did 4 years of school. I took a year off to do my yoga teacher training and then I did a fifth year lap and finally graduated with my bachelor's in environmental conservation.
Huh, that is so interesting. I feel like that's such a cool topic and very like up and coming, especially as the world starts to get crazy. So, like, do you think you made the right decision? Like, what is your view on it now looking back?
I definitely learned so much like from my major, but I initially thought I was going to go to law school, which is why I started out in environmental science because I want to do like environmental law. And the more law courses I took, I was like, I could not see myself doing this daily with all the reading and stuff. I was like, I might, need to kind of take a step back and see where I need to go from here.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
really
it's definitely something
interesting.
I learned a lot about.
Yeah, that's so funny because when I was younger, I basically thought I wanted to be a teacher for a long time. But then when I was like 9, I was like, I know I want to be an interior designer. But I've always been interested in law and just like that in general. Um, but then I was like, yeah, I don't know if I could read all that. It's a lot of responsibility. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem as fun, I guess, as like
Yeah,
doing
that's
your
I
own
think
thing.
the glory of like the office lifestyle and the
Yeah.
money is like, ooh, this could be really fun. And then
Right.
you look at all the portfolios and books that you have to read and you're like, you know what, this is pretty dry.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if you did environmental, that is a cool subject, but it's still going to be like a ton of reading. So,
Yeah. A
yeah,
lot
that
of
makes
case
sense.
studies, a lot of reading.
Yeah, definitely. So, when did you graduate from UNH? I know so many people who go there or went there.
So I should have graduated with like my 4 year degree in 2015. But I took that year off and then officially graduated in 2017.
Nice. And when did you take your first yoga class? Like, how'd you get into yoga?
So I started doing yoga probably when I was like 16. I started going with my godmother because I had always had like, I don't know, my back was always hurting and I also had a pretty bad anxiety
Mm.
all growing up from when I was like pretty young, probably like 9 years old. So my godmother was like, you should come to yoga with me. And I started going with her pretty regularly and I just found it to be so helpful. And, I kind of ebbs and flows with being committed to it and then falling out of practice and then getting back into it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I probably started when I was 16, which was 13 years ago, which is pretty wild.
That's crazy. So it's been a whole journey for you.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And I feel like the best things come out of the hardest parts of our lives, like being anxious. Like for me too, like I was really anxious in some points of my life. And then I started doing like bar classes, kind of similar to yoga. And
Yeah.
I've just loved it ever since. So it's so cool how you find these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, did you ever imagine yourself like actually owning a yoga studio? Like, was that in the cards for you?
No, no, I did not. Even when I did my yoga teacher training, I was kind of doing it more just to like get to know myself better, get to know my body better, get to know, how to find that control in your lifestyle that's like, groundedness, mindfulness in your movement. So even going into my teacher training, I didn't think that I would even teach yoga, never mind own a studio one day.
Yeah, definitely. And when did you open the yoga parlor?
So I opened in studio officially last year on July
Wow.
9th. So our 1 year birthday is coming up in a couple weeks.
That's so exciting. So you started during COVID, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my lease for the studio in February 2020, and then March came and just kind of threw a little curveball into my opening plans. But
That's so funny because I feel like if you listen to probably at least 5 podcasts out of my series, all of these entrepreneurs did these amazing things during COVID. They opened their businesses during COVID. They took this as an opportunity. So that's amazing.
yeah, it was I mean, I feel like if we can make it through this past year, we can make it through anything.
Literally, literally. Yeah. Did you have to do like virtual stuff, like
So
classes?
I did start off with a virtual platform, which was pretty helpful to build our clientele before we actually opened in studio. That way, you know, people kind of knew like what we were putting out there, what our class styles would be like. And I think a lot of like local people that I had never taken my classes before kind of got to know like, oh, this is coming to Hampton. We'll have to try it
Good.
out when it actually opens. So it was good kind of platform to begin. So once we opened, we actually had people in the studio and it wasn't like we were
Mm.
running empty classes.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. It was kind of like a test for everyone, I
Yeah.
guess, and including yourself. So that's really cool. And you have a quote, just because you started on one path doesn't mean you have to stay on that path. And I feel like that has really described your whole story that you've been telling us. And how has that affected your life even more, you think?
I think you just always have to be open-minded and kind of let go of any expectations that you have of what your life is going to be, your life should be. Because when you have this like set feeling of this is how I'm going to go A, B, C, D, you kind of realize that it's not that feasible to shoot down that straight line. And there's going to be a lot of turns and U-turns and 180s along the way. So the less expectations that you can have and the more flexible you are to whatever comes at you, I think the more successful people will be. Kind of
Yeah.
having that like resiliency in yourself and in your
Yeah,
business.
definitely. And do you think that having yoga throughout your life has really helped you with the resiliency personally in your personal life too?
Yes, 100%. I think I used to get really worked up about, you know, it's especially with college and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
you know, when I went to college, I was like, this is what I have to do. I have to get a like 9 to 5 job after. I have to
Yep.
go to law school, all this stuff. So, and I just had so much anxiety about all of that. So just realizing when I did my yoga teacher training that I could take a step back and I
Mm.
don't have to work 18 hours a day and I can, you know, be successful without that 9 to 5 job, you know, is really important and has definitely made my lifestyle a little more tranquil than it was before.
Definitely. And I think now you do like a 3 a.m. to like noon
I
type
know.
job. Well, we'll get into that, but that's funny. But I think you brought up a really good point because a lot of people, I'm still in school, I'm graduating in 2 months actually, but I think a lot of people, thanks. I think a lot of people have that societal expectation that you are going to college and then you're going to be thrown into the 9 to 5 corporate world and that's it. And I thought I was going to have to do that too. I've always known I wanted to be successful. I always known I wanted to be an interior designer. But then when I started to have co-ops and internships in firms and I was living the 9 to 5 life, I'm like, this is fun, but I can't picture myself doing this forever. It's a lot. And like some people don't realize that till after they graduate because if they don't have an internship or they don't know. And it's like if you're unhappy with where you are, that's not the end all be all
No,
job for you.
you can evolve your whole life.
Yeah, literally. And like you did, you went to environmental science, you were thinking about law, but then you kind of did like a 180 and went into like the wellness field. And I think
Yeah.
that's so cool. And like for me, even people are always like, you have it so together, you know exactly what you're doing. But actually, I look like that, but I actually don't know what I'm doing. And no, but like it's funny because I thought I wanted to be a designer in a firm, but then all of a sudden I got into sales and I absolutely love sales and I'm selling to designers. So it's like,
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how things pan out and like how you find where you fit best. Like I feel like my boss always says it's always about a feeling. You kind of have to have that self-awareness.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100% agree with that.
that's so cool. So let's talk a little bit about your yoga parlor. Okay, so you opened last year. Like what was the process of opening?
So, like I said, I had gotten the lease in February of 2020. And when I got the studio, I didn't take out a loan or anything. I was doing this all from like my personal finances. I bartended all through college, and I
Nice.
continue to bartend and serve to this day. But I kind of just, I had this big vision of what I wanted it to be, you know, when I finished, if that ever happens.
Mhm.
And then I kind of was like, okay, how can I do this to be the most relaxing place at the minimum price?
Mhm.
So I kind of was like, what does a good yoga studio need? That when I walk into a yoga studio, what do I want? Good flooring, mirrors, good paint. And I was like, okay, I'll start there and kind of grow from there. So it's just been, you know, little by little, day by day, you know, every penny that I make in the studio, I try to put it back into the studio, because I still haven't reached that like big picture what I want it to be yet. But it's pretty awesome to see how far I've come in just a year, and to be making money at this point is pretty awesome too, and
Yeah,
debt free.
totally. Yeah, totally. That's so amazing how you literally started from nothing. And then within a year, you already have this great community on Instagram and just like all your classes. And you kind of have started to create this vision. And I like how you said it's complete, but it's not complete. Like
Yeah,
it's never going to be the end in the sense, like you're always kind of working towards that bigger vision. So
yeah,
I love that. And I mentioned before your schedule is not a 9 to 5, obviously. Talk to us about your like
definitely not a 9 to 5.
daily like life, like getting up this morning. What time do you get up?
So I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. So Monday through Friday, I actually, one of my girls is home. She's in school as well, so she's home for the summer. So she's been getting up early on Mondays for me. But I still generally am up. My body's in a routine at this point. So I'm up at 5. My first class at the studio is 5:45. So I try to aim to get there 5:25, but I would say generally closer to
Yep.
5:30. I usually teach a 5:45 a.m., a 7:30 a.m. Then I have a break to go get my latte across the street every morning. Come back to my apartment. I live right on the beach, so I try to take my
That's
dog on a
so cool.
big beach walk. And then during the day, I generally have like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. free every single day. So usually I try to be outside as much as possible, but also there's a lot of business side that I'm responsible for,
Right.
all of it. So I do a lot of bookkeeping, website maintenance,
Mhm.
scheduling, all that not so fun stuff, but gotta be done stuff. So I usually try to take care of that probably around like 10 to 11, have lunch outside a little bit more if I can swing it.
Love
And
it.
then I generally have a 4:30 p.m. and a 6 p.m. class at night, or I'll go in the opposite direction and I work at the restaurant, you know, forward to close.
Yeah. Wow, that is so cool. I love that you kind of make your own schedule, and that's kind of the beauty, but also maybe a hindrance to people who
Yeah.
own their own business. Like, would you consider yourself like someone who loves that freedom, I assume, or do you kind of get nervous with it?
A little bit of both. I think for the most part, I love it,
Yeah,
but there's
me too.
definitely days that I have like, you know, I try to, at the beginning of every week, I try to make out a list of like little check boxes, like what do I want to accomplish this week?
Yep.
And I try to like, you know, as I go throughout the day, I'm like, okay, I got this done, this done. But there are weeks where it's like, for example, there was probably 3 months straight where the top box was like, write our newsletter out. And it just never got checked off.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I need to hold myself a little bit more accountable for. And obviously, no one's like above me being like, hey, get that newsletter done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, back in my head
In
is
your
like,
head.
yeah.
Newsletters are hard. That is so funny because in my calendar, I've been wanting to make a newsletter this month, but I'm like, it's going to be a next month problem at this point.